Few Irish sports people have captured the public's imagination like Sonia O'Sullivan. An Olympic silver medalist, a world champion and a multiple world record holder, her determination and perseverance to her sport are an inspiration to any sports person. Adored here in her native Cove and so well known across the country that simply her first name will do. The latest Irish distance runner to win all of our hearts has been dubbed the next Sonia since her teens. And Ciara Mageean, like her childhood hero, is well aware that it's the people around her that help her get across that finish line.
I love it when you've got a day like this in Portaferry. There's nowhere in the world I'd rather be, running along the shore and up around the mountain. Don't get me wrong, there's occasions that it's a bit rough. We live at the tip of the Ards Peninsula and we get that wind coming up. But for me it means so much to be able to come home and run on the roads that I grew up running on. Runs tend to sometimes be a little bit broken up. If it's a session, people tend to understand. I give them a little like, I'm in the middle of something. They'll cheer me on and I'll keep going. But I love that, to be somewhere that people know who you are and you know that they're really behind you every step of the way. I feel truly lucky to be from a place like this.
And the miles she has covered on the roads of Portaferry have carried Ciara Mageean a long way. As one of the top 1,500 metre runners in the world, she is a major contender for this summer's Paris Olympics.
The crowd roaring Muir home. What a sensational performance to defend her European 1,500 metre title. And Mageean, she punches the air with delight. Such a great performer with fantastic personality is Mageean.
And as Ciara and her family have learned, life at the top of the world of track and field comes with certain sacrifices.
We'll be guaranteed that she's home at Christmas for a few days, but that's probably the only time that you're guaranteed that you're going to see her. She loves it when she's home. She just chills out. She's outside with the dogs, just does her own thing. You know, she's very, very relaxed when she's at home.
Probably my first time meeting Sonia.
Yep, it was.
People dubbing you as the next Sonia, and it can be seen as pressure, but it's a huge honour.
Everybody needs a role model.
Yeah.
Now you're a role model for
all the young girls
lots of youngsters here.
Coming through too. There was never any pressure from my parents. They just wanted to see us go out and have fun, and they, I'm sure, saw it as a really key part of our development to have sport and have an interest in life.
And we just back her up. This lady here's backed her up all her life. But if we can get a green jersey on the line at the next Olympics, that's the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. Hopefully she'll get there.
I remember that. I don't remember many cross-country races, but I remember that race in Killybegs was very cold.
Oh, yeah.
And very...
It was down on the beach.
It was sandy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't go to that night, I wasn't at that.
No, I took you. We headed away at night.
To Killybegs.
Yeah, so you were fresh. We weren't travelling in the morning.
My parents drove the length and breadth of the country to bring me to training, to bring me to races, to bring us to matches. And I think that's a key thing for young people growing up and parents who have kids, is to be there for them. I'm very lucky that they didn't force us into it, but they gave us every chance. I live in Manchester now. I moved over in 2017, but I try to get home as often as I can. It's not as often as I'd like, which is heartbreaking because I'd love to be here a lot more often. I get up and I run. Manchester's usually grey. Very similar to home, it rains a lot. So I meet my teammates for my runs 2 times a day, sometimes 3 times a day with training sessions, hitting like 70 to 80 miles a week. You're exhausted by the end of it. Helen Clitheroe is my coach in Team New Balance Manchester. Helen was a GB international for years. I personally raced Helen at my very first Commonwealth Games. She was at the end of her career and I was at the very start of mine. But Helen was a phenomenal athlete herself, so to have her volume of knowledge, I'm very lucky as an athlete.
When you did the tempo, it was high and then it went
down.
Yeah. So like, do you know, like little things like that?
For me, it was less like that we were rivals and now we're coaches. Like, it was just that I was like, this is really nice. I feel like I'm going to have a whole new dynamic with somebody who's had much more experience in the world than really any of my other coaches have had. So none of the rest of my coaches, A, raced 1500 metres, or B, were female.
I guess I feel like I've got something to give her that's, I guess, quite unique in that, you know, that experience and like say, I sort of know exactly what it's like to be sat in a call room and walking out onto an Olympic stadium and all that sort of thing. So, you know, they're things that are hard to explain to people who perhaps haven't, you know, lived it. 25, 26, that's good.
I joined Team New Balance Manchester in 2017 and I had what I described as my little wolf pack. It was probably the first time in my career I felt I truly belonged in the sport, and there was a bunch of athletes that were just so welcoming that it felt like a second family to me.
I can't do that one, my knee doesn't like it.
My knee didn't like that bit.
I've made lifelong friends in that team. That just makes this a little bit more fun because it can be very lonely.
Life as an athlete is never more lonely than when injury strikes, as it did for Ciara early on in her career. In her darkest days, she found the support she needed from a giant of Irish athletics, the late, great Jerry Kiernan.
Jerry actually was my coach whenever I was going through a really tough transition of not being able to run due to an injury. I had a crippling ankle injury after my junior career, which ultimately saw that projection of going to be a world-class athlete come to a complete halt. So Jerry ultimately brought me from not being able to walk post-surgery to win my first senior international medal for Ireland, to go to my first Olympic Games in Rio and make the semi-final. Jerry was so much more than a coach for me. I always get emotional when I talk about Jerry. He taught me that I'm much more than just the runner and that the value was there for me as Ciara. So that was a really tough decision for me to move away from him. And it's one that I do find still hard to this day because I thought I would have the chance to go back and have many years of meeting Jerry, and I don't have that opportunity anymore, and everybody who loved Jerry doesn't have that anymore. But yeah, Jerry basically brought me from worrying would I ever achieve my goals in athletics and is my career over, to realising that yes, I am going to be a world-class senior athlete for Ireland, and I'm eternally grateful to him for that.
And whenever life away from home gets tough, Ciara knows she can always depend on her partner Thomas.
Now luckily I have Thomas over here. That was hard whenever we were doing long distance, but now Tommy's there, and it sounds like a cliche, but he is my rock. My parents are like always so grateful to know that the first question they ask if things are tough is like, oh, is Tommy there? And I'm like, yeah, Tommy's here. And his whole psyche is really helping me towards my goal, and I know that that's something that's so selfless of him to be able to do.
Now, Tommy is a lovely fella. I know she's away from us, like we're family, but Tommy's really, really great for her.
When they move away, they need that security. They need that. They need to be happy where they're at to actually get the best out of themselves in their sport. No man's an island. They can't live there on their own. They need that network where she's at as well. She might have it here, but it's very important that where she's training and that, you have that whole support behind you as well.
Like, Tommy's a humble person, and he won't admit himself how important he is to my life as just a person, but we both grew up in the athletics world. Well, Thomas more so because he ran since he was a tiny tot. I always joke runners end up going out with runners, but I'm really fortunate to have a boyfriend who completely understands my sport and understands the commitments that I make.
I don't want any kudos in any way.
People barely know you exist.
Yeah, which is great. So the fact that I can kind of understand running and help when I need it, I suppose adds a little bit, That's why I don't ever have a problem with going away for long periods of time or going away for camps.
He's given up so much. Thomas does athletics too, and he'll give up his whole summer of racing to pace me. People don't see that, and I know for so many of the athletes, there's partners and spouses at home that are the people that they come to at the end of a really tough day. They're the people that keep that ship steering straight, and Thomas is definitely that for me, and I'm very lucky, and I know that he'll keep doing that, and then I'm hoping at some stage in my life I can repay him for all of that stuff that he's given for me.
As she carries the hopes of the nation on her shoulders, it's the people closest to Ciara that will be on her mind this summer in Paris.
There's people in my life that I wish they could see where I am right now. Jerry's one of them. I'd love him to see what I've achieved in my athletics, and my granny Kathleen was a stalwart in our family, really that typical Irish granny who was much more than just a granny. She was like a second mummy in many ways, and she never got to see me reach my Olympic dreams. She died of cancer while I was trying to chase the 2012 Olympics. My Granda Mageean never got to see me run for Ireland at all because he died when I was 13, and I know that my dad gets a tear in his eye every time he thinks of his own father and how passionate he would be knowing that I'm running for Ireland. Sometimes you just realise you're very lucky to have had people in your life that have had such an impact and left those footprints in your heart. For me to know that they're there, they never leave you. Sorry. They live on in me and in the legacy that they've left behind. There's only so much you can let that come into your psyche during a race because I get like this, but they're there in the back of your mind, that everything that they gave to you is making you stronger and the person you are, and you just want to do them proud.
Next time on The Energy Behind, Jordan Conroy tells of his extraordinary rise from the Midlands to the top of the world of rugby sevens.
Every time I accomplish something with the rugby, it comes back to this place, to the home. It's a big community where everybody knows everyone, and it's like an extended family. I just really want to put Tullamore on the map because, you know, that's where it all began. So it's nice to be able to say, this is for you guys as well.